So this video is kind of inspired by Scott's Stash, where he just rambles about stuff unscripted and shows things off, and I want to show off every system that I own and my favorite games for them. I'm going by the system release dates, generally not taking revisions into account with like some exceptions, starting with the Nintendo Entertainment System. So this is actually a North American one, even though I live in Europe. Funny thing about this was that I was going to open it up one time to remove that lockout chip. Turns out someone had already done that on this one, so I didn't even need to. It's a system that a relative of mine owned. I was always sort of really curious about it. I really wanted to know what it was about, what the deal was. I thought it looked cool. I knew of Nintendo at the time, but I didn't know much about this. And when I found James Rolfe making AVGN videos around probably 2007 or so, maybe 2008, so I was like 10 years old, probably too young to be watching AVGN, but that's okay. And I just got really interested in the NES. I just thought it was such an interesting console. His passion for it really rubbed off on me. I will say, as iconic as the design is, I don't think it's as good as the Famicom design, but at least, it has controller ports, which is pretty huge, while the Famicom had the wired controllers. And my favorite game for the system is actually Kirby's Adventure. This is a European copy, but again, because the lockout chip is removed, I can play this perfectly fine. This game is stellar. This game, it's beautiful, it sounds beautiful. It's the first Kirby game with copy abilities, which was pretty huge, and it holds up wonderfully today. The only downside is that it has some issues with sprite flickering and stuff, which again, pretty common for the system at the time, considering it was pretty limited with how much you could do with the sprites, but it's just cool. I like the console. I like the game. Good times. While this particular revision came out later, the PC Engine is the next one chronologically. And, you could already see the HuCard game, but this is B-Ball. If you didn't know, this is what PC Engine and TurboGrafx games look like. It's kind of just like a credit card, a little bit thicker, but they're really nifty. I don't have many. I have this, and I have Victory Run, which is a racing game, and I guess this would be my favorite out of the two. But this is specifically the Duo R model, which is obviously a lot newer. So the PC Engine actually did the CD attachment thing before Sega did, like a year before. It would also have these sort of HuCard-like things that would upgrade the system in various ways. And there was a new revision of it that had an updated software for the console itself or something that you needed. It was like a card that you needed to slot in to play the CD games. But this one has that card built in along with the System 3.0 card, which means that the only card you would need for some games on this system is the arcade card, which just gives it extra RAM. It's kind of like the expansion pack on the N64. The only disc-based game I have currently, if it would have been my favorite, it would have been Popful Mail on the PC Engine CD, but the only one I have currently is one I've already covered on the channel before, which is Götzendiener. I know I said diner in the video, and a lot of Germans are really mad that I didn't pronounce it perfectly. I'm sorry. But I tried. Okay, I looked it up before the video. It didn't work out. This console is nifty, man. It does sprite scaling pretty well, considering how old it was. There are some games that I actually do think are better on this than the Sega Genesis versions, like Afterburner 2. I actually just think it looks nicer. It has a really interesting soundscape. And I should also mention, I am missing this little cover. There's supposed to be a thing here. I got it without it, but this one has the sort of RGB mod enabled, which is fucking awesome, and it has the capacitors replaced, because those can sometimes be faulty, although this unit is more reliable than the regular PC Engine and CD attachments and all that stuff. But yeah, this is just a great console. It's the newest one I got just a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's beautiful. I think it's awesome. It's actually made by Hudson together with NEC, which is an interesting little combination of companies. The next one going by overall release order would be this behemoth right here, the Mega Drive 2 and CD2. I got this in a complete in-box setup. Basically, it was the boxed version of the Mega CD 2, but the box is so big that it also fit the Mega Drive 2, and both of those combined with a bunch of games. I don't know if people are going to allow this, but my favorite game is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. If I can't pick both of those together, I guess Sonic 2 would be a favorite, you know, or maybe the Sailor Moon game, because it slaps, but man, I'm such a huge fan of Sonic. I've always been, and you're gonna see multiple Sonic things on this list. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm a slut for Sonic. I don't know what to tell you. But I love this console. I think it's beautiful. I love playing on it. I know the Mega Drive 2 has slightly downgraded audio compared to the Model 1. But this whole set that I got was such a deal. It was actually crazy. I also replaced the save battery on the CD unit. If you want to know what my favorite CD game is, I'm so predictable. It's Sonic CD. This is my favorite all-time 2D Sonic game. I do prefer the Japanese soundtrack overall, but this game is awesome. This console is awesome, and I'm very glad that I own it. It's such a cool piece to have. The Game Gear. This thing is so fucking big. It's not even funny. Screen works great, which is awesome. And my favorite game for it is Sonic 2. Which again, I'm telling you, I'm basic. I like Sonic a lot, okay? This console is one that I find sort of... It's comfortable, but it could definitely be better. It's such a big fucking behemoth, and like, something about the buttons on the D-pad, Sega has definitely done better than this before. But, you know, it's still cool. Also, the ghosting on the screen is crazy. It's like, if you don't know what that means, it kind of has this like blurry artifacting that makes it just look a little unclear when it's in motion. But I appreciate this game. I'm gonna let Sonic die now. I actually got mine modded with a USB-C charging port, which is pretty nifty. You can see there's a bit of breakage going on here, but that's okay. But this fucking thing takes 6 double A's. 6. It's fucking crazy. I don't really play on it a lot. I have a handful of games for it, and I like it, but, you know, it's an interesting console. The Super Nintendo. Obviously, the European unit, which went with the, in my opinion, superior Japanese style. I like that it's not as blocky. I like that it's smooth. I like the little 4-color pattern, which is also on the controller. Mine is obviously a bit yellowed. Mostly just in these two spots, a little bit on the bottom part of it. You can tell there's a bit of separation here. I got this one at a game convention in 2017. And the people I bought it from, it was a Swedish company, I think, that was here in Norway, something like that. And when I bought it, there was this tiny little rock or like little plastic piece or something that was rattling around inside the console, which I feel like that's such a basic thing to take care of before you sell a system. Unless, of course, that happened when they shipped it to Norway to be at the convention, which kind of makes me worry that they don't really, you know, wrap their stuff up properly before they send it, but whatever. I was very happy to have it because I grew up playing Super Mario World on the GBA and I was obsessed with it. One of my best friends had a Super Nintendo and they had Donkey Kong Country, Rock and Roll Racing, Looney Tunes game, and like a bunch of other stuff. And I just thought this was such a sick console. Oh, and another relative of mine also had this, and it had Mario All-Stars, which I remember playing. But yeah, so I got this along with Super Mario World, and I was stoked. Pretty early in the times that I was actively collecting retro stuff. Like, I had retro stuff before this, but it was more just like consoles I already owned that I just wasn't getting rid of because I've never gotten rid of a console unless it broke or something, you know? I don't really sell games. There's a handful of PS2 games I sold when I was a kid, which I don't regret because those games sucked. And like, that's kind of it. You know, I didn't have any local stores that I could go sell games to like a lot of people in America did. When it comes to my favorite game for the console, it's kind of a hard choice, but I think I'm going to go with Super Metroid. I think this game is just beautiful. I mean, Metroid is awesome. I have right off screen here, I have the Samus Figma figure from Prime 3. And I love it. I love Metroid. Samus is awesome. Such a cool character. Outside of Other M, where they made her act like kind of a weirdo, but we don't talk about that. I don't accept that as canon. Fuck that game. But Super Metroid is excellent. I make custom end labels just using printer paper like this. I have different colors on different games. It's not the most fancy. It kind of, gets a little bit worn, but I still think it's cool. It works well. I also want to mention that the sound chip on the Super Nintendo is one of my favorite retro sounds ever. The soundscape that you get, the very sort of orchestral sounds that it can produce, absolutely amazing. I'm obsessed with it. The soundtrack sounds so good even to this day. And man, that controller is so good. 4 face buttons and L and R was such a good upgrade above the NES controller. There's so much more you can do with it. It's more comfortable to hold. Everything about the Super Nintendo is just such a huge step up. And I feel like every franchise sort of came into their own more. It got more consistent across the board. So the Super Nintendo is one of my all-time favorite systems. I think it's awesome. Next up, the Sega Saturn. This is the Japanese Model 2, which I think is the most beautiful model. It also has one of the nicest feeling controllers in gaming. That D-pad is fucking ridiculous. The clicky L and R buttons are delicious. The face buttons all feel super responsive and nice, and it's just it's a beautiful console. It has some of the best 2D fighting game ports of all time. I was really considering choosing Samurai Showdown 4 as my favorite Saturn game, as it's the last Sam Show game by the original developers, but instead I chose Nights into Dreams because I've never played a game that has the vibe that this has. It just makes me feel like I'm flying in a dream when I'm playing it. I think it's a beautiful game, a simple story that's easy to appreciate. The Nightopias have a crazy amount of depth to them. There's like so many smaller systems working behind the scenes. And of course you have the Nights into Dreams Christmas bonus disc, which I also own. And it's a beautiful game with wonderful music, and I would love to see them make another entry in it. There's also some cases where the Saturn completely outshines the PS1 in 3D gaming. It's not in most cases because the Saturn was harder to develop for. It has two different processing units, one for 2D and one for 3D, and people just sort of struggled balancing the two. Fighting games generally work a lot better on the Saturn, just feel smoother or have more frames of animation. But when it comes to 3D games, they often will be a little lacking compared to the PS1 versions. But there are cases where the Saturn one is superior. I recently found out that Need for Speed 1 released on the Saturn. That was a 3DO game originally, but the Saturn version is actually better than the PS1 original, which I just think is cool. I like it when the sort of underpowered hardware does better. I only say sort of because, Saturn's a 2D beast, but it came out in a 3D era, and that made it seem more weak. And of course, Sega sort of shadow dropped the console, pissed off a lot of the companies that wanted to sell the system, and just burned a lot of bridges, and they were already harmed their goodwill with the 32X. But the Sega Saturn was not entirely a failure, because in Japan they got over 1,000 games. It was the best-selling Sega console in Japan. It did crazy good. So that's why I only collect Japanese Saturn games. It's so much cheaper and more variety to go around. But yeah, I love this shit. This is a great console. Has great Gundam games. Other good mech games like Virtua On. I don't know. A great system. Love it. The PlayStation 1 is a console that a friend of mine had that I just found so fascinating. First of all, I gotta say, love the logo. Always loved this particular logo. The one that's all white, it's okay. This is fire. This console, I think, is beautiful. It's such an interesting looking piece. When I was buying one for myself, and I was deciding between this or the later PSX models, I just had to go with this. Even though I've heard that the PSX model has like faster loading times, this is what the PlayStation just looks like to me. This is the one my friend had as a kid, and his you had to place upside down for the disk drive to work, which is apparently like a simple fix for a problem that some units run into. I guess if you just treat it badly. I don't really know too much about it. But my favorite game for the console is probably also the first game that I saw that same friend play on the system, which is Resident Evil 3. I fucking love this game so much. I mean, all the Resident Evils on the PS1, well, all the main ones, all the numbered entries are excellent, but 3 just has a special place in my heart. There was a remake for it. I think it sucked because Nemesis was no longer like a randomized threat. He was pretty much always scripted, chasing you down hallways and stuff. They removed the forks in the road where you could actually split the storyline into different paths and stuff, which also cut down on replayability. They removed puzzles. They removed the clock tower and the park, my favorite areas. They removed so much from the game in the remake. I just genuinely think it turned out to be a worse product. It's also a shorter game, and the remake has no side content, while this original actually has mercenaries and other side modes to do. So I honestly recommend playing the original if you're someone who can, stomach the camera stuff, the fixed camera angles. I don't think that that's outdated. I think the camera system works beautifully for this type of game, but some people just can't stand it, and fair enough. But Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is great. Love the old Nemesis design. Love everything about the original game. I just think it fucking slaps. And you probably noticed, but it was published by Eidos in Europe, and Resident Evil 1 and 2 was, I think, Virgin Interactive that published it. Kind of interesting, but yeah. Here's the N64, which my aunt had as a kid. This is the same unit, actually, that she had. And I got it from her when I was in my teenage years because I realized that she doesn't really play games anymore. And I just asked her, hey, do you think I could have this? And she was like, sure. The only game that she still owned, that she hadn't sold yet, was Superstar Soccer 64, which I still have. It's a rental copy, too. It's kind of whatever. I'm not a football guy, never have been, but I love the N64, love the multiplayer games on it. I do have the original expansion pack, and I just think it's a beautiful system. I love that it was the first Nintendo system to bring forth 4 controller slots. Playing Mario Party and Mario Kart and Smash and all that shit was just, it's a stellar system. I was born in 1998, so obviously this was kind of a little bit before my time. The next generation of consoles was the one I really got into. But, having a relative that had this, getting it for myself was great. You want to see how fucking basic I am, though? My favorite game is just Mario 64. I can't choose anything else. I was really considering going with Zelda or something. I have to go with Mario 64, man. I play it every year. I get 70 stars every year. I've only gotten 120 stars once, and it was when I was playing with a friend. This game is so replayable. Such an open structure to it. The level design feels weird. It's like this raw, unrefined creativity where everything just feels strange or like liminal. It's such a bizarrely structured game that I think really adds to its charm. And the fact that it's more open than any other 3D Mario game ever in terms of how you want to approach it makes it such a fun game to re-explore again and again. And it's stellar. It's got so much content. It still feels good to this day in terms of controls. I also got these top end label things on Etsy from someone. Excellent console. If you want another recommendation from me, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon on N64 is my favorite Goemon game. It's not the most polished thing, but it's just such a blast. Very funny, weird writing, really, really good music, cute characters. I also really like Mischief Makers and just Paper Mario. There's so much good. So much good. You probably already know this. I don't know why I'm recommending it. This is one that I didn't think I would ever own. The Neo Geo Pocket Color. This thing is pretty pricey to collect for. The system itself is kind of expensive, but I got a crazy deal. It was the console and 6 games for, was it $150? Some of the games being both of the Metal Slug games, which combined I think is about $150 or something. This thing is small, it's tactile, it's satisfying, it's fun, it's just the clicky stick feels great, the buttons are super springy, and this one was modded to add a backlit screen. It's so fucking cool. And my favorite game for it is Samurai Showdown 2, which you would think is, Samurai Showdown 2 portable. Nope, it's Samurai Showdown 64, but portably. Now 64, not as in Nintendo 64, but as in the Neo Geo 64 arcade unit, which didn't do that well, and people don't consider Sam Show 64 to be super good. But if you want to play a 2D version of it on the handheld, you can get this game, which is not too expensive. And it's genuinely just a fun handheld fighter. I really, really like it. It feels great. It looks great. Look at the beautiful, beautiful backgrounds. It's just a cool way to experience the story of Samurai Showdown 64 without, having to get such an insanely rare and expensive unit or finding a way to emulate it, which is a hard system to emulate from what I hear. It's not just like a install and play type of thing, but I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it. Great system. Wonderful. Feels great. Looks great. It's awesome. It's nice. It's small. Only takes 2 AA's. Even with a backlit screen, I can play for I think 7-8 hours with 2 AA's. I just love it. It's one of the best handhelds in my opinion. One of the most beautiful consoles of all time, the Sega Dreamcast. I think this design is so fantastic. It's a fairly small unit too. It's just so nice. It's the first Sega console, first and only, to come with 4 controller ports on the front. You don't have to buy a multi-tap for certain multiplayer games. And it's just so cool. I actually have a improved fan mod, which is quieter and runs cooler than the original, which is great. I have games from every region on this console too. It's fairly easy to use like a Codebreakers disc. Just put that in and then swap out with the game disc and then you're done. This console has a very special place in my heart. It was the first Sega console that I got, and it's not that long ago. It's like 4 years ago I got this thing. I didn't grow up with this thing. I didn't grow up with any Sega consoles. I just thought of Sega as the Sonic people who make games usually on Nintendo as a kid. Obviously there was a lot more to it that I didn't really know about until I started watching AVGN and stuff after that. This is a European unit, but I took the shell of a broken Japanese unit and put it on top because I want the orange swirl and I want this little clear piece here that I really like on the Japanese unit. I'm very picky. And this one was also less yellowed. My favorite game is Street Fighter Third Strike, which has Chun-Li on the cover because she wasn't in the first 2 versions of Street Fighter 3. And this cover is just fucking sick as hell. The arcade experience on Dreamcast is just unmatched. I have so many fighting games on it. The one downside is playing fighting games with the regular controller. Not great. I don't really like the joystick that much. My finger tends to slip off a lot. The D-pad will hurt my thumb if I try to play fighting games on it. Doing quarter circles on that thing is just unpleasant. I don't like it, so I bought a Retro Fighters controller, and that's been working great. I've been having a much better time with that. But it's a cool system. It's beautiful. Really unique games. Such an interesting era for Sega. Of course, I love Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and just so many games for it I really like. Even though not so great ones like Blue Stinger. It's such a weird fucking game. It's like a survival horror game. Really rough around the edges, but kind of beautiful in a corny, funny way. And it has the voice cast of Sonic Adventure. But it's mostly the arcade ports and like Power Stone and stuff like that I play on this system. But I'm also a huge fan of Shenmue. I love Shenmue 1. Such a weird game. I have such a good time playing it though. Choo Choo Rocket is great. Jet Set Radio also. Love it. Love the vibes of it. Very colorful games on the system. And yeah, it's a good time. I'm very glad I own it. Another handheld, the WonderSwan Color. This thing is tiny. My favorite game on it is Klonoa. This is kind of a rare one. It's like $60. I paid $30 for it, thanks to Yahoo Japan Auctions. Little bit rough on the bottom, but that's okay. It plays just fine. I love the PS1 Klonoa game. I strongly considered choosing that as my favorite for the console, but I felt like I had to go with RE3. At least I can show it some love here. So this console was made by Bandai, and it has a lot of exclusive games for it. It has a lot of Digimon games, for example. And it's just such a cool system. One downside is that seeing the screen on this can be kind of challenging. It has a lot of ghosting. Though a very interesting aspect of it is that the console will sometimes flip the alignments. Even the Klonoa game will do that sometimes, where you have to play like this for some levels, and then it switches back to these types of levels. Let me see how good I can actually make that look on the... I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. It's oh wait, this is actually one of those vertical levels I'm talking about. Dude, I can't get a good angle to record this, but it's there, okay? I'm sure you can see some of it, okay? It's a cool system. The color unit does have some color games, but again, colors are hard to see on such a small little thing. Also, mine does not like turning off. It turns on just fine. Every time I want to turn it off, I have to take the battery out. I've tried cleaning the contacts under this thing. It just doesn't want to. So I don't really use this unit a lot. But it's cool. Here's the one battery. It's cool. I'm glad I own it. It's an interesting system. I find myself having a hard time picking it up just because the screen... Maybe my unit is like even harder to see than normal ones, you know? Because I feel like there's some sort of dark edges around these things. So it could be that this one is just got kind of a rough screen. I'm still glad I own it. The PlayStation 2 was the first game console I ever got. It was Christmas 2004. So I was 6 years old. This thing has survived the combined childhood of me and my sister and, you know, all our friends that come by. It has had an entire shelf with like a bunch of glass and stuff all on top of it, and it still works. This is also a particular slim unit that, from everything I've read, should not be able to play Silent Hill 3, but it does, and I don't get it, but it plays Silent Hill 3 just fine. But there are some slim units that don't play certain PS2 or PS1 games, so that's something you should look into, just to be sure, depending on what you want to get. It really sucks. I used to love my PS2, but it's a console I rarely touch nowadays because it's not as powerful as the GameCube or Xbox. It only has 2 controller slots. It just feels a little limited in some ways. And also, I don't love the controller. I've never liked the DualShock very much. It always felt a little bit small and clunky to me. I think the GameCube and Xbox controllers are better, at least the Xbox S controller. But I still like the console. It has a special place in my heart, you know, considering it was the first. My favorite game for it is Silent Hill 2, which I love this particular like special edition disc. I just think it's so cool looking. This game just means the world to me. I think it's a beautiful story. I think it's told really well. I don't know, I think it's wonderful. But I think it's a good console. I just don't really play it anymore that much, outside of very specific titles, but it's cool. Alright, the Game Boy Advance, my favorite handheld, absolutely. I mean, it definitely helps it that it has 2 extra buttons over both the original Game Boy models, but also compared to the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I just think it's a beautiful console, and this is my preferred form factor. I just find it more comfortable than the SP. But of course, you know, having a backlit screen is nice, so modding it in is a way to go about it. My favorite game for it is Sonic Advance 2. It's just so fucking fast, man. It's just such a fast game. And I love it. I love it. I love it. It's all the advanced games are excellent. Any one of them is a valid pick. For me, it's just that extra sense of speed. And I love this game. I think it's beautiful. And, you know, I played the Sonic Ultimate Flash game when I was a kid, which was based off of this. So, for example, this stage in specific had a lot of its assets used in that Flash game. Cute little fan-made recreation of it. There's just something really special about the sense of speed that this game has. It's such a fluid game, and everything just feels so smooth. I love it. The Game Boy Advance has such an interesting era of pixel art, because by this point all these developers really knew what they were doing. I mean, they had so much experience, and this console was pretty powerful when it comes to 2D games. There's some great ports and remasters and other things, and it just has a massive selection of games, and of course being able to play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, spectacular selection. Like, that's just so much. That's the reason I haven't really gotten an original Game Boy or a Game Boy Color, because I find it a little bit hard to justify. I kind of want to in like a collector's sense, but I try to only buy things that I'm intending on playing or using, you know? Oh, here comes a bit of a beefy boy, the GameCube. Of course, also with the Game Boy Player. It's, if you're wondering, it's Harvest Moon. So I have the memory card here that's 1019. And I also have this SD card thing for loading Swiss, basically. I can force PAL games to run progressive scan, which is nice, and I can play games from other regions. Of course, continuing Nintendo's newfound trend of 4 controller ports, I have played so many multiplayer games on this. I love the Mario parties on this system. Mario Kart on this system is great. Smash Melee, everyone loves it. I don't really need to say anything about it, it just goes hard. I didn't get a GameCube until 2020, actually. So the after-school program I went to as a kid had a GameCube, and they had a couple of games. Dorshin the Giant, which I love. Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse, which is okay. It's like a point and click for babies, like actually babies. It had Castlevania, or Spirits and Spells, which is bad. And then it had Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which is, you know, funnily enough, is my favorite one. Here's the somewhat boring looking PAL disc. I prefer the North American disc. And I wanted this so bad. So badly. I had multiple friends that had a GameCube. I would play Mario Sunshine and I would just obsess over the console. I loved how the controller felt. I love how everything looked. I love the menu. I love the startup. I love the vibes. And of course, the early models had the wonderful digital out port, which is what I use for my HDMI solution, which is the Retrobit Prism. And it looks so good, it's not even funny. It feels like I'm seeing the game as it's just rendered with like nothing in between. It's excellent. It's beautiful. I'm very happy to finally have this. You know, I used to play GameCube games on Wii, which Wii doesn't have as good video output, and also you have to use the Wiimote every time you want to start up the console and play a game, and that kind of sucks. So I felt like it was worth getting one of these. Only mod I've done on it is replace the battery for the clock. For when I wanted to play Animal Crossing, and that's it. But this is my favorite console of all time. I have 60 games for it, including, I'm going to show it off, including Chibi Robo, which cost me about $170 US, which is far less than I was thinking I'd have to spend on it. I thought I'd have to spend at least like $50 more than that. This is specifically the German like copy of it, but the game is in English. It's whatever language your console is set to. So something I forgot to mention about the PS2 is that during this era of consoles, it was common for games or consoles to support 50 and 60 Hz in PAL regions, except the PS2 hardly ever did. I think the only games that I have on the PS2 out of my 40, 50 games is like Sonic Heroes, I think Resident Evil 4, maybe like 2 others, and that's it. They hardly did. GameCube for most games would have 60 Hz options. Dreamcast for most games would have 60 Hz options. And the original Xbox was 60 Hz across the board. So PS2 kind of fumbled the bag on that one. But regardless, it's okay. God, I'm just so happy I have this game. You know, the seller actually did not want to ship it outside of the UK, which is where it was from. So I got a friend of mine in England. I shipped it to her, and then when she came to Norway, because she's from Norway, she would send it to me. So, didn't have to pay import tax, didn't have to pay international shipping, and I got it for $180 total then, everything accounted for. But Sonic Adventure 2 is still my favorite game on the system. Even though in some ways the Dreamcast version is better, it has better lighting, but the GameCube one has slightly improved Chow Garden and the 2-player. But the Dreamcast one has better audio mixing. It's kind of like you have to choose one or the other, or just play modded PC, which is kind of the best way. I love this era of games. Everything about this thing. Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, I just love it, man. Oh, this one's hard to get in the frame, the Xbox. It's so big. The Crystal Xbox seems to be a lot more common in Europe. Apparently it's kind of rare in North America, but here I keep finding them. Of course, the one downside with this console today is that the capacitors are going bad on a lot of them. And it's not just the pre-1.6 clock capacitors. This is a 1.6 unit, and I had to replace, was it 4 or 6 capacitors? I had to buy like a pack of them and replace them, which sucks. It sucks that it's a bit temperamental. Also, the disk drive on mine tends to get a little bit stuck. I try to clean the rubber band. I try to do other things. It's, but whatever. I can still play games on it. It's still, the disk drive still mostly works. It was the most powerful console of the time. And again, it had 4 controller ports, unlike the PS2. And I think this particular model is beautiful. And also, my favorite game is Halo 2. It's not my favorite Halo, but it's my favorite game on the original Xbox, which feels kind of cheap to say, but it's true. I do love this game. I do think Halo 2 was a genuinely great step up from the first. There's some aspects of the atmosphere that I prefer on the first game, but overall I think Halo 2 is just a far better title. I think the campaign just feels a lot better. I really, really love it. I love the Halo series. Up to Reach, of course. I love Reach 2, but everything after that is... Infinite was not too bad, though. The first handheld I ever owned, the Nintendo DS. Love this color, though. If you're wondering what this is a fake copy of Mario World that I got from my family in Spain. A lot of fake games in Spain, actually. It also fits really badly. Of course, I love these little things, and I wonder if you could guess what the game is, but it is Animal Crossing Wild World. My favorite Animal Crossing game. I think it has the best villagers, the best dialogue. I think one of the coolest aspects of it is that the villagers will actually remember who they had beef with, and they'll bring it up to you. Not like all the time, but every now and then, and it just makes them feel so real. Of course, the original intention of Animal Crossing was to make it feel like you're moving into a new world, you know, like you're moving into a new town, and you're meeting these people, and you're acclimating to a new community, which is sort of, and I think the game pulls it off really nicely. Sadly, New Horizons kind of dropped the ball in that regard, because everything is under your control, everyone always listens to you, everything is about you customizing the island. It's about making a cool island, and not about like becoming a part of a community, which I think is incredibly sad. I really hope they'll change that, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But I love the DS. I remember playing it at like demo kiosks or whatever at a toy store, and they had WarioWare Touched, which I almost put in first place. I was really strongly considering that one, but I decided I just liked Wild World just a little bit more. But Touched is awesome. I think it's super fun. The Touch gimmick on the DS is sort of a mixed bag. Sometimes I think it's really good. Sometimes I think it's mid. Sometimes I think it genuinely detracts from the game, like with Star Fox Command, where I hate controlling it. But I think it's a great console. I think it feels great to play. The Xbox 360 is a console a friend of mine had way before I had it. That friend of mine actually had this like weird method to make the red ring of death appear on the console. He basically would go behind his TV setup and like pull something out to make it appear. It wasn't appearing for me when he was trying to show me. So he did it, whatever it was, and he was like, dude, do you see it? Do you see the red ring? And I was like, no, I don't see anything. It's still just green. And he's like, okay, do you see it now? I was like, no, I don't see it. And he went, dude, if you're fucking with me right now and I'm like breaking my console, I'm going to be so mad. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Then he made it appear and I was like, oh, okay, I see it. And he plugged it or did whatever it was again to make it go away. And I just think about that a lot. That was a good friend of mine who had a huge love for the Halo games. And that's where I first played them. I was going to pick Halo 3 as my favorite, but I have to go with Sonic Unleashed. I fucking love this game so much. I think it's incredibly fun. It's a fast-paced game with an amazing story. The soundtrack is incredible. The Werehog sections is just like a good beat-em-up. The only parts I don't like are some of the platforming sections in Eggman Land and the Tails QTE segments. There's 2 of them and they're just kind of lame. It's beautiful, it sounds great, it looks great. I think Chip is an adorable character. I keep coming back to this game again and again. I keep thinking about it, and now that the recompilation is out, and I've been able to play it in an enhanced way, it's just like reaffirmed the love for the game that I already had. I think it's one of the best Sonic experiences, and I think people were way too hard on it when it came out. Yeah, the Werehog is a strange concept, but it turned out to be a really fun beat-em-up style of gameplay. Like, come on, we're over that part now, right? It's not really that weird anymore. Like, the Sonic franchise has done a lot of weird stuff. I feel like people got way too hung up on that part. A lot of people have this idea that if you're not always going fast in a Sonic game, as soon as you're not going fast, the game is not fun, the game is bad, actually. I think that mentality sucks. There's a lot of variation you can do in Sonic games, and Sonic Unleashed is just a new way of going about that. It's a top 3 favorite Sonic game for me. Of course, I got this unit a lot later than that game released. I don't remember when it was exactly. Might have been 2010, I think. I'm not entirely sure. And yeah, it's the last Xbox console I probably ever will own, because I have no interest in their newer stuff. After the 360, I got the PS3. This thing is fucking heavy, man. But it's a really cool console. I really like it, and my favorite game for it is Little Big Planet 2, which I didn't own until very recently, but a friend of mine had it. He made a bunch of levels for it, which I recently actually went to his house to pick up his console and brought it home, and I saved all of his levels onto a USB stick, and I've actually uploaded them onto the new like Little Big Planet refresh servers that are going on, which is fun to be able to do. And I showed it off to him. I was streaming it through my Elgato, just having a great time re-experiencing this game, sharing memories and reminiscing about all the levels he made, looking at all the silly photos he had taken with like the PS3 camera thing. Genuinely really great. I don't play the PS3 a lot. I don't have a lot of games for it. I have like 6, but it's a good console. I like it. I really enjoyed The Last of Us 1 when that came out towards the end of the life cycle. Last of Us 2 was okay. It was just kind of mid. But, you know. Anyways, I like the PS3. I'm not a huge fan of the controller, but it's a good system. The Nintendo Wii, which is how I originally played my GameCube games. I think I got this in 2006, maybe, somewhere around that. I might not really play Wii games a lot anymore, but I still think it's a sleek, beautiful console with some really fun games. Even though, yeah, the motion controls got a little bit tiresome in the long run. And there are some games that I feel like were worse off for it. There are some that were way better for it. And I think my favorite game on the Wii, kind of a funny pick, but Wii Sports Resort is so much fun. It's just silly. It's actually just fucking goofy. But it's such a good time. I love playing it with friends. I love playing it alone. I love going for high scores. It's just like this smooth, wonderful experience that just feels whimsical, and there's such variety and things you can do in it, and it's just awesome. I was a huge fan of the original Wii Sports, and I played this at a friend's house. I just remember playing the sword fighting game and thinking, this is so much better than the original. Like, I gotta have this. This is just like a must. It took me a while to actually get it, but man, when I did, it's so worth it. The PlayStation Vita is pretty underrated, honestly. It feels great to play. I love that, you know, you have D-pad, joystick, face buttons, L and R, and some games use this back touchpad as sort of a replacement for triggers. Obviously, it's a little bit harder to do analog with it, but still. These earlier models had an OLED screen, I believe, which still just looks so nice. Like, the black colors are so dark, it just feels great to look at. I got a lot of digital games for this. I really only have 2 physical games. And my favorite game for it, honestly, is Little Big Planet on Vita. It's just such a stellar experience for the series, and the campaign is just really fun. I haven't beaten it, but I like it a lot. And man, I love the vibes of this thing. I love how it feels. Such a sleek looking system. I really like it, and I wish it got more games. But at least if you hack it, you can get a lot of mileage out of this thing. The Wii U was genuinely a really interesting system. The gamepad was cool when it was used well. You can see it still moving. It was cool when it was used well, but it was often kind of a hindrance. Having to charge that fucking thing every time you wanted to play something really just... It got annoying, man. It didn't have the greatest battery life, and there's a lot of games that didn't make great use of it. One of the ones that did, though, is my favorite, Nintendo Land. I will still play this game with friends today. I love it. It's such a fucking blast. Love the Mario game. Love the Metroid game. I like the Luigi's Mansion one, even though it's not that balanced. The Zelda one's a fun little adventure. The Animal Crossing game is just exciting. It's just so cute. Everything about this game is such a fucking blast. If you want something multiplayer to play and you have a Wii U, man, I can't recommend this enough. This is so good. This is just fun. I did not end up getting a lot of games for this system. I got Smash and Mario Kart and like a handful of others. A bit of Mario Maker when that came out. Although I did like the second one a lot more, even if the interface wasn't as user-friendly. Yeah, the Wii U was cool. I'm glad I have it. It's, again, not something I boot up a lot. If I do want to play Wii games, though, I do usually play it on Wii U, even though in some aspects it doesn't look as good as the original Wii, but it's still cool. The original PS4, interesting design. I've always thought it was sort of not the best looking console, a little bit too much of just, you know, black rectangle, but I do like the kind of slopey look they gave it. It had some stuff on it I really liked. I enjoyed Persona 5, that's on other stuff now too. The first Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man, was great. Love the sequels too. I think my favorite game is probably Ghost of Tsushima. I'm a sucker for Sucker Punch. loved the Sly games growing up so much. And I think Ghost of Tsushima is just a beautiful game. The story is good, not spectacular, but it's good. The music and the visuals and the gameplay is what sort of hold it up for me. Makes it a really special experience. I just love samurai shit. I just think it's so cool. I would show you the game, but I bought it digitally. Actually, someone is borrowing it from me, and I totally forgot. But it's a good console. I've played it for hours and hours, and I really like it. The new 3DS XL. So we had the launch 3DS model. My sister got it, and I remember just being so excited about it. When we first got it, everyone was just going crazy with the 3D effect. I still love 3D, okay? I love 3D on this thing. That's why I wanted a new 3DS XL and not a 2DS XL. It's just so good. And the new models actually track your face to make sure that the 3D effects position actually aligns with your view. So you can kind of move the console around a little bit and you won't lose the 3D effect, and it's not going to hurt your eyes like it kind of did before. This blue model is just beautiful. One really annoying thing is to get the SD card out, you have to unscrew these and pop off the bottom using this part of the pen by kind of lifting it up. Every time I want to, put more ROMs on this thing, I have to do that, which is annoying. The form factor is beautiful. The face buttons, the D-pad, everything feels great. The extra big screen is awesome. As you can see, I have a lot of emulators. WonderSwan, Neo Geo, Atari Lynx, PS1, TurboGrafx or PC Engine, Super Nintendo, NES, all the Game Boy games, Game Gear, Mega Drive, Pokemon Mini for crying out loud, Red Viper, which is the Virtual Boy, where you can actually play the games with 3D effects, the N64 emulator for it, which only some games work, but it's still cool. I hear some of my digital purchases, and some of these are just ones I've downloaded from the H shop. So being able to play all of these consoles that I have emulated here, plus the fact that I can play 3DS and DS games, it's just awesome. And the games run really well. Like, I can play PS1 games on it, which is fucking crazy. I never thought I'd be able to do that. Hacking this thing is just the best thing to do. I would say that my favorite game for the console is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. It's partially because it's the first one we got with our system. It was like a launch game that we got with it, and it's the first way that I ever experienced Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's become one of my favorite games of all time, and I think the 3DS version is just beautiful. It's just a nice upgraded version of it. And there you go. There's Resident Evil 3 running at full speed. No real issues, no nothing. Just working as it should. As if it was an official thing. It's not. This is just fans that have made this. It's crazy. I can't believe that people actually have PS1 emulation on this thing, and it feels perfect. I've played Parappa on it, without really having issues with like the timing on songs and stuff. And I don't know, man. I just think it's so fucking cool that this is possible. This is the console that I take with me when I travel, just because, again, I have so many consoles, games loaded onto here. Games I own, games I don't own, all kinds of stuff, and I have dozens of DS and 3DS games, which I also bring with me, and there's just so much to do, so much to play. And again, the 3D effect, I love it. Obviously, it doesn't look good on camera, but yeah. And to end it off with, the latest console in terms of release order, the Nintendo Switch, which I actually got the one with the gray Joy-Cons, which I kind of thought looked a little cleaner, but they got drift, which most people I know have drift on their Switch, so cool. So I bought new ones, because I tried fixing the old ones with any solution I could think of, outside of buying new sticks, which I just think is... I think it's fucking inexcusable how much that these would break down, but whatever. I do like the Switch. I think it's a really neat console. I remember how exciting it felt when it came out, and the idea of Nintendo having a hybrid system and not having to differentiate between handheld and home console felt pretty cool. Though I do love handhelds and I do kind of miss them, I do think this is great. It's a nice system to take with you on the go, even if it's probably a little bigger than you'd want to have for portable games. I was about to turn it on, but I know that it has no charge because... Never mind, it has charge. I haven't used this thing in fucking months. That's actually surprising. How much battery does it have? It's gonna have like 5%. What? Man, I don't know. That's weird. Yeah, I really like the Switch. My favorite game, you already see it, and I don't even need to show the physical copy, but Metroid Dread is excellent. Maybe my favorite 2D Metroid, I'm not sure. Kirby and the Forgotten Land might be my favorite Kirby game, I don't know. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, not for me, man. I love 3D Zelda games. Could not get into those. But yeah, I don't find myself using the Switch a lot. Pretty much never. That's why I didn't think it would have any charge. But I like the console. I'm glad I have it. And it's given me a lot of cool games over the years. I was going to get the Switch 2 when it dropped until I saw that it's going to cost me, what is it, $510 with the like European prices. Actually, that's the prices in Central Europe and the UK, which usually Norway is about the same. Not this time. This time, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland is going to cost an average of like $650 for just the console. That's fucking crazy. And each game is going to cost 1,000 Norwegian kroner to 1,100. That is between 95 and 102 US dollars for one physical game. So I'm not buying it. I can't do that. I don't know why it's so much more pricey over here. And if you didn't know, you have to pay extra money to get increased FPS on Switch 1 games on the Switch 2. You have to pay money to utilize the hardware you own. On PS5, you can just pop in a PS4 disc, get double the frame rate on it. Not here. You have to pay for it. I can't do it. I might just buy Metroid Prime 4 for the Switch 1 and just say no thanks to the Switch 2, at least maybe get it used, I don't know. And yeah, that's my console collection, and my favorite game for every console. Hope you enjoyed this rambly video. And just to end it off, I just want to show this off because it's the coolest fucking figure I've ever had. It has cloth clothes. I love Hellboy the comics, not the movies. Anyways, thanks for watching. I've never done anything like this. Don't know if I'll ever do anything like this again, but it was cool hanging.